we got to change things. And we have, look, all these people here, we're just regular people. And it's got to stop. That's why we're here. Bust up! Big banks! Bust up!
Their message for the banks was clear and simple.
Clean up your act. Enough is enough. We know we're caught onto your game. We know what you're doing. We're not fooled. People know it. Clean up your act, and don't be a scandal to us and the world.
They're up against the powerful lobby of the financial services industry. It spent more than $220 million in lobbying so far in 2009, most of it directed at stopping reforms in Washington that would hold banks accountable and hopefully prevent a repeat of last year's disaster.
What we're doing here in Chicago ought to be replicated across the country. We need to get out by the millions to protest, to demand that this industry in particular, the banking industry that is spending $250 million lobbying against bank reform, this is unacceptable, and I think average Americans need to understand that.
I think it's hard for them to ignore our message at this point, because every day this crowd gets larger, and every day the American people get angrier, and every day we are shouting to Congress and to the president, and every day that happens is a day that the bankers cannot ignore us.
It's no longer people like me feeling that it's my fault. You feel that, oh, maybe I went to school for the wrong type of study, but you know that there's some force bigger than you out there that's been sopping up your money and not giving you an opportunity to take advantage of the American dream.
We are fighting against big money interests. We don't have the billions of dollars, but we have legs, we still have voices, and we're going to continue to march, and we're going to continue to speak out and send a message, quite frankly, to Democrats in Washington that, once again, the November election was a referendum on the old practices that have been repudiated, that have been discredited. It's time for a new chapter in American politics. It's up to them to make a decision. Are they going to listen to the people on the ground here, or are they going to listen to the bankers? That's the question today. We can say that even in Chicago, Obama's hometown, that many people are beginning to question his commitment to serious, sweeping reforms.
So as we heard here time and again, they still cling to the audacity of hope.
When enough people get active, things will happen. I think Obama will act if people will push him, but we've got to push him. He said that himself. He said, you push us. And I think we're ready to do that.
The one thing we have, our own political currency, is people. And people are ready to hit the streets. Today is the beginning of a much larger set of mobilizations that are going to take place all across the country. We're just getting started.
With me now is George Gale, one of the community organizers you just saw in our report from Chicago. He's executive director of National People's Action, a group dedicated to organizing for social justice. Also with us is Heather Booth, who's been a political activist and organizer for 40 years, ever since she joined the civil rights movement in the 60s. She's currently the director of Americans for Financial Reform and president of the Midwest Academy, a training program for leaders and organizers. Welcome to you both.
Oh, wonderful to be here.
George, you say at the end of that report, we're not going away, we're just starting. Who's we?
Who's we? We's everyday people from across the country. We saw something really interesting happen over the course of the summer. We were having meetings with the Federal Reserve, and what started out as people coming out around predatory lending and foreclosures started to evolve, and suddenly retirees were coming out saying, how come my pension's been depleted by 30%? People who'd lost their jobs were coming out. People who were worried about state budget cuts were coming out to these meetings. And I think more and more people are making a connection around their own economic insecurity to what's happening with the banks and on Wall Street. So suddenly we've got a growing movement of people who want to get out on the streets, put pressure on the banks. They recognize it's a David and Goliath fight, and it's only through their action that we're going to make things happen. I think people don't believe right now that their members of Congress are going to lead the way. They're questioning whether Obama will lead the way, and it's becoming more clear that they've got to lead the way.